Back and forth over the bond for an Austin murder suspect. We'll have the latest from the Travis County Courthouse and a decision from the judge.
And pushback from the president after complaints from an ally. Why some Ukrainian leaders are unhappy with who's at the table for peace talks.
Still freezing across Central Texas right now. Austin now up to 23 degrees, but will we warm up past the freezing point? We have more coming up in your First Warning Weather.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
As we enter our noon hour, we want to show you a live look from the Austonian. If you look very carefully, it looks distorted from this view from the Austonian. That's because whatever precipitation came this morning froze and created that kind of obscured view from the camera there. So, of course, this is all picturing us for us how cold it is outside.
I know so many people saw those snow flurries on their drive into work. People is me. That was so exciting. But I know once I stepped out of the car, it was a little less fun.
It's really cold outside. In fact, we have an official number now, as we can now say that we have a new record low for the day. That was set for Camp Mabry. 20 degrees is what we hit. And we're still not very far away from that at Camp Mabry at around 22 right now. When you get a bit farther out, you may see a different temperature out towards the airport, and that's why the bug has a different temperature right there, just because that pulls from a different sensor. But 20 degrees is actually what we hit. 23 right now in Austin, 21 in Georgetown. That Austin actually went up by a degree over the past hour. 22 in Marble Falls, 21 in Fredericksburg, 24 in Mason. We still got about 4 hours till we reach our high. If we want to even pass 32 degrees, that takes us over 3 degrees each hour over for the next couple hours. In order to even pass freezing, I don't think we're going to make it, especially because we don't have the sunshine yet. A lot of you have been sending in photos and videos, and we absolutely love them. This one was sent to us from a viewer in North Austin at 4 Points, showing some of the flurries that were coming down. What a beautiful shot there. And then we actually have some pictures. This one was over in Liberty Hill, and these were sent to us as well. So thank you so much. And of course, we encourage you to send more photos and videos of the snow flurries and so much more at reportit@kxan.com. Here's a live look at our Kreitz Market camera in Lockhart. Still looking a bit windy outside and a bit cloudy outside at this point. We haven't really gotten any strong sunshine. With current temperatures right now across the state, still single digits in Amarillo. But look at the difference in the past 24 hours. With Austin down 34 degrees from 24 hours ago, San Antonio down 38. Corpus Christi down 41 degrees. Coming up, we're going to be talking about the very cold few days ahead, the overnight freezing conditions, and the warming up that we see on the horizon.
Freddie, thank you. New today, a judge has agreed to increase the bond for an Austin murder suspect after he was already released from jail.
Prosecutors missed a deadline that resulted in a dramatic reduction to his bond amount. KXAN's Brianna Hollis is joining us live now from the courthouse with the latest on this case. Hi there, Bree.
Hey, good morning, guys. So let's start with the trajectory of the bond in this situation. The suspect, Stephen Morrison, first arrested in October. His initial bond was set at $800,000. That number went all the way down to just $100 this month. And that happened, as you mentioned, because prosecutors missed a 90-day deadline to secure an indictment. Now, today in court, after a lot of back and forth and frankly a lot of questions over who has the ultimate discretionary authority over this, a judge took what she called a conservative approach and raised that bond up to $100,000. The suspect, Morrison, was taken back into custody. He would have to post 10% of that, or $10,000, to get back out. His attorney is frustrated by this, and he says the district attorney's office really dropped the ball in this case. The victim's family happy, at least for now, that Morrison is back in custody.
We're grateful that he's back in custody. It's not the price that we wanted, but that knowing that he's back in custody, know that he's not on the streets and able to taunt us.
I do believe that this is in fact a show to try to move the fault of their office from their failure to indict over onto the judge, putting the onus on her to make a difficult decision.
Now, the district attorney's office has not been forthcoming at this point on what exactly prompted prosecutors to miss that deadline, but we can assure you we're going to keep asking that question, really hoping to get an answer to that. And tonight at 5, we'll have more from the victim's family. Will, Avery.
Bree, thank you so much for following this case. Real quickly, we know the judge was indicating, saying that she was making this decision, but that Texas law could contradict it. Tell us a bit more about what we heard from the judge in this case today.
So one of the things she said that really stood out to me was at the very beginning, she said, I did not want to reduce the bond in this case, but state law says that a judge has to reduce a bond to an amount that the defendant can afford if that 90-day deadline is missed. And then here's where a lot of the confusion is. She mentioned that she's unsure of any case law. She didn't hear an argument convincing enough from the state or the defense over if she actually is able to increase this bond again, or if that negates that whole reason for the 90-day deadline as a whole. So her plan, as she mentioned in court, was to really leave that up to the appellate court, and the suspect's attorney does plan to file an appeal on that.
Bree, great context there. Thank you so much for following this for us. We know you're going to have more coming up tonight. We want to tell you today state senators are debating changes to our state's bail system. Governor Greg Abbott has declared bail reform an emergency item this legislative session, and that allows lawmakers to prioritize it immediately. Some of the proposals aim to close loopholes in the current law. Others allow judges to deny bail for people who are accused of violent or sexual offenses, or to undocumented people. We have a closer look at what is being considered at the Texas Capitol right now at KXAN.com. Turning now to some international news. Today, President Trump called the Ukrainian leader a dictator. His post on social media came after Zelensky accused Trump of living in a Russian disinformation bubble.
The spat between these two all came as talks between the U.S. and Russia to end the war in Ukraine wrapped up yesterday in Saudi Arabia. While there is the start of a framework to keep those negotiations going, those talks involved no one from Ukraine. And there was no talk of punishment or accountability either for Russia. American and Russian officials met face-to-face publicly for the first time since Russia's invasion of Ukraine 3 years ago. Secretary of State Marco Rubio led those negotiations across from the Russian delegation. American officials say the talks yielded several takeaways, including efforts to re-normalize diplomatic relations between the U.S. and Russia, and a pledge to keep the peace process going. However, based on what officials laid out, there appears to be no discussion of punishment on Russia or its President Vladimir Putin for starting the war when it invaded Ukraine back in 2022.
On Tuesday, President Donald Trump appeared to blame Ukraine for starting the war, arguing Ukrainians had 3 years to end the fighting, negotiate an end to that fighting, and he says this is why they were not present during this week's talks.
They've had a seat for 3 years and a long time before that. This could have been settled very easily. Just a half-baked negotiator could have settled this years ago. Without the loss of much land, very little land, without the loss of any lives, and without the loss of cities that are just laying on their side.
Those guarantees could include a European peacekeeping force. Ukraine says it will not agree to any peace deal, though, that it's not involved in negotiating.
Back here in the U.S., the Department of Agriculture accidentally fired workers working on the bird flu response, and now the federal government is trying to rehire them. The USDA acknowledged the error in a statement yesterday. The agency says it's, quote, working to swiftly rectify the situation and rescind those letters for the officials who are considered to be frontline public safety workers. This all comes as the spread of bird flu decimates poultry flocks and led to a spike in egg prices. The latest data from the USDA shows the bird flu outbreak has now affected 23 million birds. So far, the CDC confirmed 68 cases of bird flu among people here in the U.S.
The council that regulates mental health care in Texas voted to change continuing education requirements for practitioners here. They removed a requirement for 3 hours of cultural and diversity training.
Earlier this month, Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued an executive order calling on state agencies to ban diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, or DEI. Yesterday, that board unanimously passed the rule change, replacing it with 3 hours of training for, quote, a distinct population. The deputy executive director of the council said they made that change because some licensed professionals felt the council was requiring education from a certain worldview. Some therapists worry the change will be detrimental to mental health care in the state.
It's the foundation of what we do to provide competent and ethical care to people in communities. It's very central to why most of us went into this profession.
Before the change was pushed through, nearly 1,500 people signed a petition to keep the language as it was.
An overnight fire leaves hundreds without power for a time. We'll tell you why the flames were such a hazard for first responders.
And growing fears about flying after a recent string of airplane crashes. What the crash in Toronto shows us about how airlines are preparing for any kind of trouble.
Welcome back, everyone. Your time now, 12:14. After the recent uptick in high-profile airports and plane incidents, some people are wondering if it's still safe to fly. NBC's Tom Costello takes an in-depth look at how the recent crash in Toronto appears to be a textbook case of how to survive and respond in an aviation emergency.
With the wreckage of that regional jet still resting on a Toronto runway, aviation experts say the fact everyone survived is due in no small part to the flight attendants.
Everything, drop it!
Who remained composed yet in charge, ordering passengers to wait as they ensured it was safe to evacuate, then move.
They announced not to get out of their seats, so people were hanging there for, I can't remember how long, but just about a minute, and then they were like, okay, get down.
Veteran flight attendants call it a textbook response.
There were very difficult conditions, directly an inverted plane, where this flight attendant had to find the opening, make that hole, and then shout the commands to get people out safely.
Also textbook, the firefighting response, required to be on scene within 3 minutes. An MIT study shows fatal commercial plane crashes are rare, just 1 in 13.7 million passenger boardings globally.
Release seatbelts! Leave everything!
Like other airlines, Delta flight attendants go through weeks of intense training.
Grab ankles, heads down, stay low!
Recreating the chaos of an emergency.
The FAA requires you to evacuate a plane completely in 90 seconds. You have got to be on your game.
Absolutely, absolutely. The goal is to try to get those customers off the aircraft as quickly as possible, especially in an emergency.
The key is to kick your feet and your arms out and slide down, and let these guys catch you at the bottom.
Commands must be concise and clear.
Leave everything, jump and fly!
Leaving purses, bags, and backpacks behind.
Let's go ahead and take a look at your current wind chill right now. 12 degrees is what it feels like in Austin. 10 degrees is what it feels like in Llano. San Marcos, it feels like it's 13, but San Saba, Mason, feels like it's 7. Lampasas feels like it's 2 right now. An extreme cold warning still in effect from now all the way until tomorrow at noon because of the wind chills, the dangerous wind chills that are going to be out there. Take a look at current temperatures. We have not moved at all within the past 30 minutes. Still at around 23 degrees in Austin, 24 in Mason, 27 in San Marcos, 24 in Flatonia, and 23 in Giddings. Let's take a look at that wind chill for tomorrow morning now. Those numbers have updated, and as we get to 6 a.m., 0 is what it's going to feel like in Fredericksburg. It's going to feel like it's 1 in Blanco, 7 in Austin, 7 in Giddings. Folks, you're going to have to bundle up tomorrow, just like what we're seeing today. I mean, not that you're probably already not bundled up, but even more tomorrow morning. Wind speed is playing a major factor in that as well. We're seeing wind speeds anywhere between 10 to 25 miles per hour. Wind gusts past that 25 mile per hour mark. And over the next 24 hours, we'll get a little bit of peak here by 4 p.m. We'll go down just a tad. But all of this still remaining over 20 is going to affect your temperature. And that's why we get that wind chill effect in there. Now, remember the 4 P's for the next couple of days: people, pets, plants, and pipes. The biggest one that I want to stress is pets. I have pets myself, so I know how important it is to bring in those pets. Make sure that they're covered and taken care of. People, make sure you're dressed if you have to go outside. If you don't have to go outside, stay indoors as much as possible. And then plants, if you haven't brought them inside already, make sure they're at least covered. But it froze last night, so the damage may already be done. Now, we take a look at satellite and radar as of this point, and it's still very cloudy outside. We're getting a bit of clearing as you get out towards Mason and Llano. I tried to look at the Llano camera, but I didn't see any sunshine there. So all my folks out in Mason, you may get a little more sunshine, and that's pretty much it for right now. This model's still showing that we could see clearing as we go on throughout the day today, but if the clouds just stick around, that definitely will affect our temperatures. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. 32 for today, 39 for tomorrow, 39 for Friday, but that's not what I'm focused on. It's the early morning hours where our temperatures are expected to drop below freezing for a few more days. Of course, you can follow me on social media by going to any of these sites right here and follow me on Freddie Vela TV. Let's send it over to Tommy House, who has a bit more.
Yeah, thanks, Freddie. Looking at some records here, Christopher Adams helped pull some of this data, looking at the coldest months on record. How about 1899 and 1930 when we averaged in the 30s? That includes the daytime and nighttime low temperatures. And we also averaged 19 freezes per year. Today marks the 13th freeze at Camp Mabry in Austin. How about 57 freezes from the start of December through February? That's 90 days. 57 of those were at the freezing point. So, yeah, things are cold. Not nearly as cold as the record books, and we probably will see a bit of a warm-up past this weekend, so winter might be done here after the next few days. Will, Avery?
Tommy, thanks. Experts saying a disease outbreak here in Texas is now hitting a severe level. How many people could have measles out in West Texas?
Hi, I'm Karen Fursell. This is Jacob Palmer, and we're back from bestreviews.com. Be sure to scan that QR code on the screen. There's some really great deals. We're talking about kitchen gadgets. We're going to start with an electric can opener or jar opener. They're really great for people that might not have that accessibility.
And it's so nice because it works on a bunch of different sizes of jars, and it's really helpful for somebody who maybe has arthritis and is dealing with that in their day-to-day. This makes sure that everything is accessible and that you're able to make those delicious meals, you know, without extra struggle that you really don't need.
And you just pop it on top. It can adjust. It's really great. Okay, next we're talking about the Smart Thermometer by Chef IQ. This is something that you have.
Yeah, and this is one of those product types that's grown in popularity in the last few years because it is super useful. You know, you can be a great chef and you feel like you don't need the meat thermometer, but this will still unlock that next level because it takes away any guesswork. You can use it in the oven, you can use it on grills. It is just a really cool piece of tech that connects seamlessly to your smartphone and ends up making sure that you have that perfect roast for the holiday, or just if you're barbecuing, you know, make sure you never overcook those ribs ever.
That's right. Well, I made chicken last night, so I definitely needed this. All right, this is something I used at Thanksgiving. I absolutely love this. This is by Laud Life. This is a warming mat, and I'm telling you, it works. It's great.
And it's made out of silicone, and so it's very safe. But what we love about it is that it's the next level up from like what a chafing dish used to be for these big events where you'd be hosting folks. And there's a lot of different modes you can use. You can set the timer on it. But at the end of the day, the part that really matters is that it works.
Absolutely. And you know what? I had a few of them. I lined them up. I put the dishes. It was great. And it rolls up, and so it doesn't take up a lot of space when you put it in storage. And then our final product's by eTech City. This is a digital scale.
And what's so cool about this is that it's great for the person who's getting super dialed in on their diet. You can make sure that you're measuring everything out to, the gram basically. So you know all of your calories, you know the macros and all those really important stats that you need for when you're going through that wellness journey. And if you're a baker, this is going to make sure that you measure everything with absolute precision.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look at all 4 products today. We're talking kitchen gadgets. We're going to unlock some great deals. Be sure to scan that QR code. Get ready to scan, shop, and save.
You can find the best reviews, epic discounts on KXAN.com. Just pull down the menu under the Marketplace tab and click on Epic Discounts.
Welcome back, everyone. We are taking a live look out in Bastrop where those flags are really giving us a picture of that wind out there. It is chilly and those temperatures are really staying at dangerous levels throughout the day. Freddie and Tommy are tracking your full forecast coming up in a couple of minutes. First, some experts say the measles outbreak in West Texas has hit a severe level.
Take a look at your screen right here. These are the counties that have confirmed cases so far. Texas reports nearly 60 cases across that area. Most are in Gaines County. That's north of Odessa near the New Mexico state line. Most of these cases also are among unvaccinated school-aged children.
Health officials believe around 200 to 300 people are infected but haven't been tested. The CDC has sent about 2,000 doses of the MMR vaccine to Texas at the request of state officials.
Coming up, as temperatures dip below the freezing mark for at least a few days, it's important to stay safe out there. What to look out for if you're worried about something like frostbite.
And the Texas legislature is thinking of making an investment in cryptocurrency. We'll tell you more about why coming up.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
Coming up on 12:31 this afternoon, and we're showing you another live look from downtown Austin, where a dreary day, yes, very cold as well, too, and we are tracking those cold temperatures sticking around for at least a few more days.
We have seen so many videos from you all coming in of the snow flurries that some folks saw this morning, and now just bitter cold. Freddie, what can we expect through the afternoon?
Unfortunately, breezy conditions, the cold conditions. Tommy House and I were just discussing that we don't think we're going to get anywhere past freezing for the day itself. This is one of the reasons why the current wind speeds makes it feel like it's a lot colder out there, especially with all that Arctic air just filtering in. Add on top of that the fact that the winds are pretty strong out there. That's one of the reasons why. Winds gusts right now 23 miles per hour in Austin, 29 registering in San Marcos. Bastrop at 22 miles per hour. In fact, I want to show you a live look out of our Allied Medical Emergency Room camera in Bastrop. Look at the flags just whipping around, and thanks to the very strong winds within the area. Let's take a look at current temperatures right now. 23 still in Austin, have not moved. We would need to jump up 3 degrees every hour over the next 3 hours to get above freezing. I just don't see that happening. And because of that, I'm going to already call it and say we're most likely not getting out of freezing for the day itself. 27 in San Marcos, Fredericksburg at 22, Georgetown finally getting above 20 degrees at 21 now, and Bastrop at around 25 degrees. The cloud coverage is another reason why I feel like we're not going to make it past 32. We're just not seeing the clouds breaking up fast enough. You're getting a bit of a clearing as you get out towards Mason around, it looks like 87. But other than that, everyone else still within cloud coverage. Zoom out a bit more. Plenty of clouds all across the state of Texas. So over the next 18 hours, you can see we've adjusted it. I still have a 32 in there just in case we actually make it to that point. But we may only top out at around 30 before we're back down one more time. Coming up, we're going to be discussing a bit more about the very cold days ahead, the overnights and how many more nights we have of freezing, and the warming up trend that's on the way.
Freddie, thanks so much. New this afternoon, Austin's Homeless Strategy Office has released Some new numbers about those who use the overnight cold winter shelters here in the city. Approximately 386 people plus 4 families use those shelters. Austin Travis County EMS also reported 5 cold-related illnesses. 3 patients were taken to local hospitals. As of right now, the city says the cold winter shelters will not move to a 24/7 operation. However, all of the city's warming facilities will remain open this week.
Austin Travis County EMS is echoing those warnings and concerns about just how dangerous this weather can be.
Yeah, some signs of frostbite or hypothermia that people should watch out for when temperatures are this low include white or grayish yellow skin that feels unusually firm, waxy, or numb. Some signs of hypothermia include these things: confusion or memory loss, slurred speech, and drowsiness. Now, if someone is suspected of suffering from hypothermia, experts from the Red Cross offering these few remedies. Call 911 if that person requires immediate medical treatment. Otherwise, work to get the person warm slowly. Move them to a warmer place, remove any wet clothes, and wrap them in dry blankets and cover the person's head.
Potentially life-saving tips there. Going further in depth, there are treatment options for some of Austin's most vulnerable residents during this Arctic blast. Starting back in September, Austin Travis County EMS partnered with Central Health to open a place for unhoused people who need specialized, inexpensive care instead of having to go to the emergency room.
And so it's really designed for people experiencing homelessness or who are otherwise vulnerable or marginalized that are disconnected from our care system, who we can rapidly engage in care.
Now, it is important to note the Bridge Clinic does not currently have extended hours during winter weather events like this, but for people who could end up with hypothermia or frostbite or even potentially need an amputation, the Bridge Clinic will be there for when they need that follow-up or long-term care and treatment. A fire overnight in North Austin led to more than 400 Austin Energy customers without power as flames destroyed power lines in the area.
However, we do want to note the power is back on now. The Austin Fire Department says this all happened on the 2600 block of Buell Avenue near the intersection of Burnett and West Anderson Lane. Crews arrived there shortly after 11 last night and reported about 80 firefighters working there on the scene. They kept fighting that fire for more than 3 hours, saying the high winds and smoke prevented crews from getting too close to the building.
More so the wind than anything. The wind was up when we initially got here, so we did have wind-driven fire conditions that made it also unsafe to go in.
Austin firefighters say the building was a fastener company that provides construction supplies, so there were chemicals inside that caused some of these issues. They say the building is a total loss.
One of the state's top 10 fugitives is now in custody. He was wanted for allegedly sexually assaulting a child in Bastrop. The Texas Department of Public Safety says it found 69-year-old Armando Flores Aguilar last Friday in Houston, thanks to a Crime Stoppers tip. Police arrested Aguilar last May in Bastrop County on charges of aggravated sexual assault with a child and indecency with a child before being released on bond. Officials say Aguilar is an undocumented immigrant. He was previously deported back in 1999.
The Department of Homeland Security has launched a new ad campaign telling undocumented migrants to, quote, self-deport and stay out. DHS says the ads will run on digital, television, and radio all over the world. Here's part of one of those ads.
If you are considering entering America illegally, don't even think about it. Let me be clear. If you come to our country and you break our laws, we will hunt you down.
DHS says it will also be using texts and social media.
The Senate has voted now to advance the nomination of Kash Patel to become President Donald Trump's FBI director. Yesterday's party line vote was 48 to 45. This now allows Senate Majority Leader John Thune to tee up a confirmation vote in the full Senate for Patel later this week. Patel's nomination has come under heavy criticism by Democrats in particular over his repeated vows to go after Trump's political opponents. Back here in Texas, the state is considering getting into the cryptocurrency market. At the state capitol yesterday, lawmakers discussed creating a Bitcoin reserve.
And as KXAN's Kevin Bosker reports, it's bringing both excitement but some concerns.
Seeking for an alternative to the dollar.
Cryptocurrency is what people believe is, in this case, Bitcoin, finite and decentralized, and something that they don't have to worry about governments printing more and more money.
Texas Senator Charles Schwartner is behind the bill to establish the Texas Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. The Business and Commerce Committee held a hearing on the proposal today. He says the creation will protect the economy against inflation.
People are really worried about federal overspending. That's been going on decades, and the inflation that engenders.
It can be very, very volatile.
Kendall Garrison, the CEO of Amplify Credit Union, explains the possible pitfalls of a crypto reserve.
Switching from very safe investments that the state of Texas has today, like government bonds, index funds, hedge fund investments, moving to cryptocurrency is really increasing the risk in that portfolio.
But Schwartner doesn't think it's as risky as what it seems to be.
Bitcoin in particular is the largest cryptocurrency, the one that trades the largest volume, and I think it has the least amount of overall volatility.
What I would suggest is they have a very strong, very well thought out investment policy that has stop loss built into it. So if it decreases more than X%, then you exit those investments. And on the other side of the coin, if it increases more than X%, you harvest some of the profits.
Kevin Bosker, KXAN News.
Kevin, thanks for that report. State lawmakers left that measure pending in a committee, but if it's created, this reserve would be overseen by the Texas Comptroller.
There would also be a 5-person advisory committee, including the Comptroller, that would advise on the management of this reserve. Going in depth for you, as the CEO of Amplify Credit Union explains, cryptocurrencies can be risky investments. According to the Texas State Securities Board, they could lose all of their value, and they're considered extremely volatile due to the value consistently rising and falling. Some crypto lacks liquidity as well, meaning you can't convert it to cash when you need that money. Also, virtual currencies are traded on unregulated exchanges, which could lead to price manipulation by major investors or other fraudulent activity. Still to come here on KXAN News at noon, we are getting closer to a real-life Back to the Future. We'll tell you about the startup on the East Coast that is trying to make the famous flying car a reality. Welcome back, everybody. You are taking a live look out in Bastrop, where it is nothing but gray clouds and those high winds we can see from those flags there on the side of the road. That is not wind from the traffic. That is the wind that is going to hit you in the face if you're walking out the door today. Definitely dress warm, bring layers. Freddie and Tommy are tracking how long these freezing temperatures could last for us, coming up in just a few minutes. In California, a startup says it's close to pioneering a piece of future technology that many of us have been dreaming about for years. That's right, a flying car.
NBC's Steve Patterson got an exclusive look mid-flight.
For all the advances in automotive tech, one issue only seems to be getting worse: gridlocked traffic. But this Silicon Valley startup says the solution comes straight from our imagination. The flying car.
You can actually use it today, and you can cut your commute at least in half, if not more.
Jim Duchovny says his company Aleph Aeronautics was able to create something we've been dreaming about since the Jetsons.
We're trying to make science fiction a reality.
And while not quite ready for the road, Duchovny says the flying car is about to take off. NBC News was given exclusive access to see their concept model with our own eyes.
If everything goes smoothly, I'm going to watch a car fly over another car. We'll see.
Sure enough, we watched it soar through the air over another car and land. But for all the magic of this moment, we were heavily restricted, forced to shoot at least half a football field away, and we never actually saw the driver entering or exiting the vehicle.
But you're not still all the way there yet, because you wouldn't let me in the cockpit yet.
There's a difference between you and the consumers. We still have some IP, intellectual property, which we're trying to protect.
So far, more than 3,200 early adopters have pre-ordered their $300,000 all-electric flying car. And the company is aiming to begin production by next year. But practicality might be where the rubber meets the sky. Only a few countries allow for the kind of road-to-air reality Duchovny envisions.
It's going to be slow, incremental approach, which is good for legal integration, which is good for consumer integration.
But he says as demand grows, regulations will catch up with the tech. For now, it's still that cutting-edge pie in the sky. Steve Patterson, NBC News, Silicon Valley.
Well, there you go.
1 mile per gallon.
Yeah, I feel like the perfect reaction is,
Interesting.
So many questions.
Yeah.
This wasn't, when we saw George Jetson flying around, that's not what we saw. So I don't know.
Maybe he could get there one day. Who knows?
Give him time.
We've been seeing a lot of pictures from people sending them in of the snow flurries that we saw earlier today. And I actually have another one that I want to share with you. This one is in Round Mountain. This is courtesy of Ashley and Stuart. Thank you very much. As we saw some accumulation there down on the ground. Thank you so much for sending that in. A beautiful picture. There was another version of it where you could see on the other side. It's the same thing. You just see kind of an accumulation. Not everyone saw snow flurries, but a lot of people did. The moisture stuck around long enough for us to actually get some of that coming in. So I love to see it. And we would love to see any of your photos. If you want to send in any photos or videos, all you got to do is send an email over to reportit@kxan.com. Send your photos or videos there, and we'd love to see what you got going on. All right. Extreme cold warning, that is still in effect until 12 o'clock tomorrow. That's right, now extended. Originally supposed to end at noon, or cold weather advisory was supposed to end at noon, and then we were supposed to wait until midnight, but it's just still very cold outside. Temperatures have not budged whatsoever. So with an extreme cold warning, it means take action. It's too cold outside. Dangerously cold air temperatures, wind chill down into teens and single digits in many areas. Avoid going outside. Dress in layers and cover exposed skin. And of course, plants and animals, bring them inside if they are still outside. One of the reasons why wind gusts is still very strong. We'll play this out throughout the rest of the day today. See a little bit of a decline here as we get into the afternoon. But overnight, we're still seeing wind gusts up to 25 miles per hour in many spots. That continues as we get out towards tomorrow morning. And then into tomorrow afternoon as well. So we'll continue to see that cold trend out there. Austin still sitting at 23, has not moved whatsoever. San Marcos at 27, they may be one of the first ones to reach 30. And most likely one of the only ones, 24 right now in Fredericksburg, 25 in Mason, 19 degrees still in Lamb Pass as the clouds have not broken apart just as we wanted to just yet. We're getting a little bit of a clearing as you start to move farther out towards the west. And as we go on, we may get some clearing overnight tonight as there's less moisture in the atmosphere overall. So by tomorrow morning, we're looking at temperatures down to 20, maybe even a tad chillier than that. Teens farther out towards the west. All right, here's a look at your 7-day forecast. 32 for today, and even then that's pushing it. 37 for tomorrow, 39 for Friday, 44 for Saturday. As we get out towards Sunday, we're finally moving into the 60s, but that rain chance comes back Friday into Saturday. Let's go ahead and send it over to Tommy House.
Yeah, thanks, Freddie. We know we had some snow flurries in Central Texas, but how about farther up north? What was causing the snow for the Dallas-Fort Worth area? Believe it or not, lake effect. You can see the arrows here. There are two big bodies of water that are north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Winds come in over the north. You get a little bit of convection and moisture. Warm lakes produce that lift, and some snow fell for 6 hours on end. That's beginning to wind down. This same storm system that is now bringing some snow across the Carolinas and also responsible for that chilly Arctic front coming in behind of it. Look at all the storm reports stretching from Kansas and Colorado to the East Coast. Here's the low pressure with some moderate to heavy snowfall, Raleigh, North Carolina through southern portions of Virginia. The snowfall depth through Missouri and western Kentucky and southern Illinois, 6 to 12 inches of snow fell there. And I'm anticipating up to a foot of snow for northeastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia. Maybe a little bit of a trace around central Texas. That should clear out. And then beyond this, we're going to have a pretty quiet weather pattern across the next few days for the lower 48. Will, Avery?
Thanks, Tommy. A Texas high school has developed a solution to help kids relax during the school year. We'll show you.
And a grandmother goes to jail. Why she said it's a birthday wish come true. After this. Now look at what's coming up tonight on KXAN. It's Chicago night. So at 7, it's Chicago Med, followed by Chicago Fire at 8, Chicago PD at 9, and you can join us right back here for KXAN News at 10.
Okay, high school can be stressful for students, but a school in the Rio Grande Valley is working on a solution. McAllen High School says it designed the calming room for students that may be wrestling with emotional or mental issues. Students can relax, they can color, they've got stress balls in there. It's just a safe place for these kids to unwind. I love this idea.
I do too. Well, we want to wrap up our show today with a story that is by far my favorite. So to celebrate her 104th birthday, one grandmother from upstate New York wished to go to jail, and she actually had that wish granted. Loretta there, as you can see, says she'd never been inside a jail and wanted to see what it looked like. So the police department showed her around there. Now get this, when law enforcement asked her what her secret is to a long life, I mean, she just turned 104, she simply said this: mind your business. And all I can say is, I respect that to the max. That is amazing.
It's a good life lesson.
You know,
there.
if you're not hurting anybody, mind your business.
Mind your business. Mind your business.
I really like that. I remember when I was younger, though, I think they did one of those programs where they took all the elementary kids into a jail to see what it was like.
Just say, like, don't end up here?
Yeah, don't get in trouble because you'll end up here.
Quite the scare tactic. Okay.
You know, it worked. Never been inside of a jail cell. All right, let's go and take a look at your first Morning Weather University. Cold extremes in Austin. Just wanted to give you a couple of them. The coldest temperature on record is actually -2 degrees. That was set back in January 31st of 1949. The coldest month on record, January of 1930. And the most number of freezes in a year, that was 1898 to 1899 at 57 of those days. Wow. 7-day forecast showing that we're still going to be below freezing each and every morning all the way through Saturday morning before we start to finally warm up Monday into Tuesday. But don't forget, it's still going to be very cold outside throughout the day today. Bundle up, keep those pets safe.
All right, always good advice. Thanks again, everybody, for watching this afternoon. We hope you don't mind your business too much because we'll be back in about half an hour with another update on your latest headlines and the forecast. Stay with us. Take care.